Well, goddamn, what's going on, fellas? Welcome back to the channel, man. It's your boy, and for today, I wanted to give you guys my top 15 timeline battle killers, a list of characters that I've put together to help ensure that regardless of what the ban list looks like on any given week for the ViBranium League, I'm always assured to be in the top 10% so I can snag myself 200 crystals every single week, because over the course of a month that's 800 crystals, and some weeks I go completely undefeated and I go into the top 2% bracket, which rewards you with an additional 20 crystals. So some months I end up with 880 free crystals. That's basically a free uniform every single month for winning all my fights. Seriously, this is a crucial list. Timeline battle isn't necessarily the most fun game mode, but it's very rewarding. It's a necessary evil, if you will. So I wanted to give you guys my top 15 best PvP characters today. Most of you guys wanted me to cut this down to 10. I really thought about doing that, but I couldn't do it because on any given week, 4 or 5 of these characters would be banned, and that would really limit your options. So for me, I decided 15 was a nice number, because if 5 of them get banned, you still have another 10. That's basically 3 more teams you have on the bench ready to go, and you don't have to scramble once your characters get banned. So these are my top 15, but like I always say, it's always a matter of perspective. If your top 15 looks completely different, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. I want to hear from you guys. Who are you using on a weekly basis in timeline battle to snag you some crystals? That being said, boys, let's jump right into it. Now, these characters that I have favorited, this is my timeline battle killer list. I'm gonna break it down. This is actually going to be in the traditional 1 to 15 format, but the numbers can be moved around, okay? You can move them around, but these are the most powerful and most reliable PvP characters for me as of right now, as of me making this video in Marvel Future Fight, okay? So let's jump right into it. Number 15 on this list is a character that I absolutely love, and if you've been following me for any length of time, you know my love for her is undying. She's a freaking beast, boys. Absolutely had to put her on this list. She's great for PvE, but she's also really good for PvP, and that's actually my baby, Betsy, okay? She's so freaking awesome, and one of the reasons why she's so good for PvP is because she has a really freaking long iframe on the 5th skill that can basically one-shot anyone. Butterfly Phantasm is an amazing skill. There's only 2 characters that give me a really hard time when I use Psylocke in PvP, and that's actually Nova and Deadpool. Everybody else, it's fair game, baby. Betsy is a monster. Multiple iframes, damage block, and mind control. Betsy is no joke, so I absolutely had to put her here in the number 15 spot. Number 14 is a character that I praise every single time I mention the word PvP, and that is because he's a freaking beast. The boogeyman of the Blackwater, Corvus Glaive. If you've been following me for any length of time, you know how I feel about Corvus, and honestly, he's a freaking monster. This uniform is a must buy for him. For him to be on this list, he definitely needs to have this uniform, because the uniform makes him a monster. You'll see for yourself, he gets 15% physical attack and another increase to his damage when he's up against superheroes. And what you're gonna notice is the majority of the characters on this list are superheroes, so he basically always has a 30% increase to his damage whenever you're using him in this uniform. On top of that, his 2-3 combo is so freaking deadly, so freaking clutch. He can kill basically anyone, even the characters that are going to be at the top of this list. He can take them down by simply chaining his 2 and 3 back to back, because they're very short, reliable, and consistent iframes. They're on really slow cooldown time as well. You can see for yourself, 8 seconds. Cut that in half, that's 4 seconds. The skill itself lasts for about 3 seconds. Same for this skill, right? These 2 skills alone is all you need to take down the majority of the characters on this list. But he has a guard on his 4th skill with summons if you need to draw aggro and stall, And on his 5th skill, he has good damage, a damage buff, and 4 seconds of immunity. Honestly, Corvus is an absolute monster, and I highly recommend you build him, because even if the enemy managed to kill him the first time, right? If you're not hiding in iframe and making the most of your survivability, you can revive at full HP and torment them again. So honestly, build them super defensively and you'll have a really annoying PvP character, but you could double dip, give him some ignore dodge to deal with the spiders, and honestly, you'll be looking at one of the best PvP characters in the game. Number 13 on this list for me, it's honestly a character that most of you guys may disagree with, but it's actually going to be the God of Thunder. Thor absolutely needs to be tier 3, and he needs to have this Infinity War uniform. None of his other uniforms will make him as good as this one in PvP, simply because he has immunity on his 5th skill, and his 5th skill alone is able to make him one-shot every single character on this list. He's one of my most reliable PvP character. He can freaking crush everybody with Force of the Thunder God. Even Deadpool, okay? Honestly, this skill is so freaking powerful, so clutch for PvP. I can't tell you guys how many times my team gets wiped, I'm down to Thor, and Thor just comes in and he just makes it rain lightning and everybody just gets bodied, right? So freaking clutch. On top of that, he has a guard on the 3 skill, a slight iframe on the 1 skill, and this skill is actually really strong and a lot of people underestimate it. I've one-shot quite a few characters with it, and of course, his tier 3 skill, it deals a really good amount of damage for PvP, and on top of that, the 80% ignore dodge, the invincibility, the penetration. Absolutely love Thor for PvP. Most of you guys may say he's not that good, but I have a CTP of destruction on my Thor, and I find that my guy puts in work. So I absolutely had to put him on this list. Number 12. Absolutely needs to be level 70 and has his uniform to be this high up, but he definitely deserves to be on any PvP list regardless of whether or not he's level 70 or has a uniform. He's easily one of the best PvP characters in the game, hands down, bar none. There's no PvP in this game without him. Honestly, he's really just that good, and he's one of the saving grace of the free-to-play community in this game. If you don't have him, you absolutely need to build him. He's a must-have character for your roster. That's Angel, baby. That's Angel, my guy Warren. His leadership alone makes him a staple for PvP. The debuff removal is clutch for the era that we are in right now for Marvel Future Fight, okay? Debuff removal is basically everything. No matter how strong your team is, if you do not have debuff immunity, you're at the mercy of someone like SpiderMan. One SpiderMan, no matter how weak he is, can completely destroy your entire team if you don't have debuff immunity. That's how crucial this thing is, okay? But on top of that, he has multiple iframes that he can chain back to back, making him damn near untouchable. On top of that, he has damage accumulation and damage immunity and a massive heal on his 3rd skill. Angel is definitely the complete package for PvP. He has the leadership, he has the survivability, and he has the damage, and this uniform just adds to that. Definitely loving Angel, one of the best PvP characters in the game. Number 11 is actually going to be Strife. Strife also has extreme value because of his leadership, similar to Angel. The reason why I put him above Angel is because his damage is much higher than Angel, and chances are if you go up against Strife, he'll kill you before you even get a chance to get started. That's how powerful this guy is. He has a guard on his 3rd with really good damage and insane damage on his 5th with invincibility, and he can penetrate everything, and he also has damage reduction on his 4-star passive. The reason why Strife isn't much higher on this list for me is because he's missing healing. If he had healing, this guy would propel himself probably into the top 5. That's how good of a character Strife is to me, okay? Number 10 on this list is a character that is absolutely recommended for every single PvP team in this game. She's one of the best PvP characters in the game, okay? She doesn't have the highest DPS, but she has amazing survivability, and what she brings to your team is truly invaluable. That's actually the Wasp. I highly recommend that you get this uniform at the very least. You don't need to get it to gear 25 and level 70, but it definitely helps bump up your survivability because because what she does is very crucial. If you bring her in this uniform, she gives you an amazing leadership, buffs basically everyone, hero or villains, and on top of that, in this uniform for PvP, 10% more HP is a very, very, very big deal. Okay, very, very big deal. Sometimes that's the difference between winning and losing. On top of that, she's bringing her tier 2 passive, and she's really good to use at the beginning of your fights to stall. When you go into timeline battle, you'll notice that all your skills are on a really long cooldown time. And that is the reason why most of you guys lose your fights in timeline battle, because you bring in your most powerful characters. The AI has all their skills at their disposal, and you have to wait for your skills to come off cooldown. However, the Wasp is really good because her 1 and 2 skills are actually really long iframes, and on top of that, they're on really short cooldown. And these skills you can use to guard break and stun lock the enemy to stall at the beginning of the fight to let your characters get their skills off cooldown, and then you can bring in your most powerful characters and wipe the enemy team. She's such a vital part of timeline battle. She can hold it down. Honestly, boys, she may not have the highest damage in the game, but what she brings to your team is truly invaluable. Oftentimes, she's the determining factor in whether you win or lose. Number 9 on this list for me is actually my guy, Stephen Strange, Doctor Strange. Now, level 70 and gear 25 isn't necessarily required, but it would definitely help him cement himself in this number 9 spot. So I'm definitely going to get him to level 70 at the very least very, very soon. However, what is an absolute must is this uniform, because what it does is increase his survivability, which is already really good with this previous uniform. With this one, he has more reflect and more recovery, and on top of that, he can now hit you, stun you, and bind you while you're in iframes, to go along with the fact that this guy can already time freeze you. So this just cements what I was saying at the beginning of this video. We're in the era of crowd control. If you do not have debuff immunity, you're basically screwed when it comes to timeline battle. Doctor Strange is one of those characters that ensures that if you're not running debuff immunity, you're toast. Okay, he's just that powerful. Multiple stuns, multiple snares, multiple binds, multiple iframes, recovery, reflect. Doctor Strange is an absolute nightmare in PvP, and this uniform just adds to that. If you give him level 70 and gear 25 for additional stats, oh my goodness, he's a freaking nightmare. He can wipe the majority of the characters in this list by him damn self. He's just that good. Number 8 is actually a character that most of you guys might try to debate, since he doesn't have level 60 or gear 25 or tier 3 or a uniform, but he definitely deserves to be here because he can take out absolutely everybody on this list by his damn self, and that's actually my guy Sam. Sam Alexander is no freaking joke. Okay, he's one of the deadliest PvP characters in the game. He's great for PvE, but in PvP he's an absolute monster, and the day he gets his level 70 or a tier 3 or a uniform or anything of that sort is going to be very painful for people who don't have him, because he's a freaking monster. Multiple iframes that he can chain back to back, invincibility, a guard, and this nasty 2 skill that can hit you while you're in iframes. And this skill hits so freaking hard to go along with the fact that it's also reducing your defenses while it's hitting you. Most cases, no matter how much HP a character has, they die from getting one hit from this thing. It's so freaking powerful. So freaking powerful. Nova absolutely has to be in the top 10 every single time. He's a dangerous character. Very few characters can go toe-to-toe with him. They either have to have a lot of HP and a lot of dodge, but he gets ignored dodge in his kit, right? So yeah, they need to outrank him by being tier 3 and level 70 with the uniform and additional stats just to stay alive against Nova. Nova is a freaking monster. Number 7 on this list for me is actually going to be SpiderMan. But SpiderMan needs to have this uniform because it's giving him 5 iframes, and on top of that, he needs to be tier 3 Okay, he absolutely needs to be tier 3, and you need to give him a lot of dodge and probably a CTP of destruction to make sure that he doesn't ever get guard broken at all, because he needs to ensure that he doesn't get caught off guard by Nova, because hiding in iframes will work against the majority of the characters on this list, but it won't work against Nova. Nova can hit you while you're in iframes, and the dodge in Spider-Man's kit is really high natively. Even mine, without even speccing him for dodge, I have 61%, but you need to ensure that you have as much as possible so that even though Nova has 30% natively, he doesn't get completely obliterated. Spider-Man is really good because he can crowd control you and he can stay in iframes indefinitely, so his survivability is really good and he can pick you apart, and his tier 3 skill is an absolute nightmare. It floods the entire map. There's no hiding from it. It penetrates basically everything. All you can do is jump in a high frame and hope you stay in the iframe long enough to not get blitzed by this skill, and it decreases your defenses. So good luck staying alive against a tier 3 Spider-Man if you're not using one of the other characters that I put above him in this list. Okay, Spider-Man is an absolute nightmare. You gotta have some kind of ignore dodge or a ton of HP to stay alive if you don't have debuff immunity. Okay, debuff immunity is an absolute must for timeline battle these days. Number 6 on this list, boys, is actually going to be Captain America. Captain America definitely needs to have this Infinity War uniform or whatever comes next, but he definitely needs to have this, and he needs to be tier 3 to cement himself into this number 6 spot for me. Okay, he needs to have this because with his tier 3 and this uniform, he has enough damage and insane survivability. He has a ton of freaking HP, so he can tank like a mother, and on top of that, he has a good amount of DPS because his other skills in this uniform hit really hard. His 5th skill, iframe, he has a couple of different immunity effects on his 1 skill and the uniform bonus, so he has really good survivability. But the tier 3 rank and the massive HP buff and the physical attack increase that he gets from being tier 3 is why he's so high on this list for me. He can take down the majority of characters if played properly, even if you don't have a PvP build for him. If you have a PvP build for him with something like a CTP of destruction or authority, he's even more formidable. He's an absolute monster. Number 5 on this list. Most of you guys are going to be surprised that I put my baby so low, but it's actually going to be Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is in the number 5 spot for me, obviously because of the mind control, the healing, the reflect, the iframes, and the insane damage. Okay, she has the total package. Absolutely have to put her in the number 5 spot here. She's a very dangerous character. Number 4 for me is one of the most powerful level 60 characters ever created in Marvel Future Fight. A character that, even though he is free to play, the free to play community spent about 6 to 8 months demanding that this guy get nerfed immediately because of the fact that he was completely ruining their timeline battle experience. And even after this guy got nerfed, he still vastly overshadows a lot of the level 70 and tier 3 characters in this game to this day. And that's actually my guy Pietro. This guy is an absolute nightmare. His Days of Thunder and light speed running is basically a 1-2 punch that cleans out basically every character in this game. Quicksilver basically revolutionized timeline battle. Because of him, immunity to guard break on your obelisk for timeline battle is now an absolute must. If you ever wondered why everyone would say if you're building a PvP character for timeline battle you need immunity to guard break, it's because of Quicksilver. I know there's other characters that can guard break you and stun lock you into oblivion, but Quicksilver who made it a staple because of the fact that when you hit the 5-4 combo with this guy, honestly, as soon as this thing connects, all you're gonna see is your character getting rocked, and your next character is gonna pop in, they're gonna get rocked, and the next character is gonna get rocked, and you're toast. Seriously, Quicksilver is an absolute monster because of the 1-2-5-4 combo. I don't mean 1-2 like his 1-2 skill. I just mean like the 1-2 punch. You know, like the 5-4, you're no more. You're dead. You're dead. You're literally dead. That's how powerful this guy is. And you know, in this game, there's certain characters that do really well in PvP, but it doesn't often transfer over into PvE. That's not the case with Quicksilver. Quicksilver does amazing in PvP, and he completely crushes it in PvE. Like right now, I know this is not a PvE video, but my level 60 Quicksilver can outshadow a lot of my level 70 Gear 25 and a lot of the tier 3 characters in the game. Like my level 60 Quicksilver without a CTP or anything like that is already doing 45 Proxima, 49 Corvus, and 20 Thanos. That's insane, boys. Insane, okay? This guy still has his gears at 20. Like, oh my goodness, this guy's an absolute beast, man. But number 3 on this list is the queen. The former queen, I should say. She got dethroned. But she's still one of the best characters in the game. That's actually Jean Grey. Jean Grey has revive. She has time freeze, iframe, a guard. She has penetration, insane damage. Jean Grey is basically a staple for me any week that she's not banned. Of course, she has the debuff immunity leadership, which is premium for timeline battle. Jean Grey is the complete package when it comes to timeline battle. You can make a ton of mistakes with her, and she's gonna revive and blitz the enemy team. Absolutely love her. Absolutely love her. I can't wait for her to get her level 70. That's all it's gonna really take for her to push back to the top of this thing, honestly. Number 2 on this list is actually my guy, Wade. Absolutely love this guy, and it makes me so happy that he's one of the best PvP characters in the game. All you need to do is give him immunity to guard break, max HP or recovery, and 5 seconds of invincibility, and you're looking at an absolute god in timeline battle, because his survivability is really good because of the constant healing. His 4-star passive is really good to bring him back if he ever gets below 20%. And on top of that, man, his 4 skill is really annoying because it's about 7 seconds long and it's a full iframe. The skill also deals incredible damage, so the first 1 or 2 hits will trigger your invincibility obelisk, and since the skill is so long, by the time Wade gets to the end of the skill, your invincibility would have run out and he can just finish you up. Basically a one-shot with the 4th skill. And if you don't finish this guy off within the first 5 to 15 seconds of fighting him, and you let him build his tier 3 skill, you're dusted, because this is gonna one-shot you regardless. Like, this skill will hit you whether you're in a shield, a barrier, damage immunity, invincibility, even if you're in an iframe. This is a guaranteed killer, okay? Guaranteed killer. Once this thing hits, it's over, baby. He's just that powerful. Insane, guys. So I have to put him in the number 2 spot. The only character that I've ever used to survive that skill is actually the guy in the number 1 spot, the purple raisin, Thanos. And the reason why he can survive that is because of this uniform. The uniform, you can see for yourself, gives him a 30% damage reduction when he's up against superhero, and on top of that, another 20% damage reduction, so 50% when he's up against superhero. And that's the reason why he's at the top of this list. Well, that's not true. That's not the only reason. That's one of the main reasons, because if you take a look at this list, it's mainly superheroes, and this is a massive reduction to their damage when they're up against the Mad Titan. The second reason why I put him in the number 1 spot is because of the Titan Punch, giving this guy the ability to remove all buffs, okay? And this includes your 4-star passive, your tier 2 passive, and your tier 3 passive. That's very significant, because some of the most powerful characters in this game rely on their 4-star passives. For example, in the case of Quicksilver, if you remove the 70% chance to penetrate barrier, shield, damage immunity, and invincibility, Quicksilver becomes significantly weaker. Thanos can remove that with his one skill. That's one of the main reasons why this guy is so annoying to deal with in PvP. Of course, the constant healing when he's attacking. On top of that, the damage immunity. He has multiple immunities, by the way. A long iframe on his 4 skill. Thanos is annoying as hell to deal with, and he can penetrate everything. Of course, he has invincibility as well. Thanos has so many meta qualities. If they ever give this guy the ability to revive himself, he'll be the most broken character in the game, as he should be, because he's rocking the Infinity Gauntlet. I can't wait to see what they give him for his tier 3 skill. Honestly, I want a snap where the enemy loses 50% of their HP immediately. That's what I want, okay? I don't need more survivability. I want a lot of damage so I can use this guy in PvE more, because he's a god, absolute god. He's at the pinnacle of PvP right now, but I want him in the top 5 for PvE as well. But that is my top 15 for PvP, guys. Let me know what your top 15 looks like. Shout out to Emma Frost. She's actually really good in this uniform because of the reflect, but she didn't make this list this time around. There's a couple other characters that could have made it here, like for example Apocalypse is really good for PvP, but this is my top 15, guys. Let me know what your top 15 looks like. That is it for this one, man. Thank you guys so much. Hope this was helpful, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace and love, and I'm gone.